A flat expanse of prairie stretched endlessly beneath a colorless sky. Winter had carved the land into a grave of icy age, gust of wind a blade. Each drift of snow a silent tombstone. Through that frozen wasteland a man trudged. His name was Thomas Crawford, though the wind had long since blown away anything resembling dignity. His coat, once blue with Union pride, now hung in shreds. His boots bled at the seams. In his arms, wrapped in a sun-bleached wool blanket, lay a child silent still, barely breathing. Narrator VO. There's a moment when a child's hunger becomes too great for tears. A moment when a man stops being a man and becomes only a vessel of will. That moment had come for Thomas Crawford. 22 miles he had walked since dawn. No horse, no food, no warmth save the ember of his son's tiny breath on his chest. He came upon a weathered trail fork and paused, knees trembling. To the west, smoke curled faintly above the trees. A homestead, maybe, or just his mind playing cruel tricks. He staggered toward it. Flashback 3 weeks earlier, rain hammered the roof of a crude cabin. Inside, Lucy, Thomas's wife, lay, soaked in sweat, eyes sunken, chest rattling, fever. The fire couldn't drive it out. He had held her hand through the night and whispered the only words he had left. Thomas whispering, "You rest now. I'll watch over the boy, I promise." She was gone before the sun rose. He buried her with bare hands in earth's frozen solid. The baby Lee hadn't nursed since. Back to present, Thomas reached the clearing. Cabin, rough-hewn logs, a thin curl of smoke from the chimney, a porch swept clean despite the cold. He approached slowly. His knees buckled. Once he dropped to them with a grunt. Holding Eli tightly to his chest, the front door creaked open. Cautious. Behind it stood Sarah McClain. She was younger than Thomas had expected, late 20s, auburn hair pulled back, eyes like flint. A shotgun rested against her shoulder, not raised, not lowered either. Thomas' voice raw. "Please, my boy. He needs milk." Silence. She said nothing at first. Her gaze flicked from the man to the bundle in his arms. A flicker of recognition passed over her face, mother to motherless, survivor to survivor. Inside, the cry of another child, healthy, strong, broke the stillness. "Sarah Level, you come alone, Thomas?" "No horse, no gun, just the boy." "Sarah, bandits have been through wolves too." "Thomas, not here for harm. Just mercy, if you've any to give." A long pause. Then she lowered the shotgun. "Sarah, bring him in before he freezes to death." The warmth inside was enough to make Thomas sway. The scent of wood smoke, boiled oats, lye soap. Sarah moved. Quickly, gently taking Eli from his arms, inspecting him without a word. Her face softened. She lifted her own baby from a cradle in the corner, placed him to one breast, then shifted Eli to the other. He latched weakly, then stronger. Thomas turned away, shame and gratitude choking him. "Sarah, you can cry if you need to." Thomas hoarse. "I cried when she died. I got no tears left now." She nodded. "Sarah, I buried mine last spring. Husband, snakebite. Left me with little more than dirt and debt." She wasn't offering comfort, just truth. Offering made of pain, narrator VO. Sometimes grief recognizes itself. Sometimes that's enough to stay the hand from the trigger. Thomas slumped to the floor beside the fire, boots steaming from the melting frost. His hands shook, not from cold, but from the sudden absence of it. "Sarah, there's broth on the stove. You look like hell. Drink before your bones rattle." Apart, he did. Slowly, each swallow pulled him further from the edge of death. The baby suckled and fell asleep. Sarah laid him in the cradle beside her own. "Thomas, I'll work for food. Chop wood, mend fence, whatever you need. I'm no charity case." She looked at him, assessing, not with pity. With caution. "Sarah, tomorrow, tonight, you rest." Narrator VO. There are debts you repay with coin, and debts you repay with time. But some debts are never meant to be repaid, only carried. Later. That night, a low wind howled through the gaps in the windows. The prairie whispered secrets no one dared speak. Thomas lay curled near the fire, the baby bundled beside him. He stared into the flames, face hollow, lost somewhere between the past and a future he hadn't dared consider. Sarah sat across from him, quietly mending a torn sleeve. The rhythm of her needle matched the ticking of the clock. Sarah, you. Got a name, Thomas? Thomas Crawford. Sarah, well, Thomas Crawford, you've made it through one more day. He looked down at Eli, who twitched in sleep. Thomas. He has a name too. Eli. After my grandfather. Sarah softly. Eli. Strong name. He's got the fight in him. Thomas closed his eyes. The warmth, the food, the breath of his son. Rising and falling, it dulled the ache for the first time in weeks. But sleep would not come easy. The sun clawed its way above the horizon, casting gold across snow-blanketed fields. Thin plumes of smoke curled from the chimney. Frost sparkled on every surface like a quiet threat. Inside, life had begun to return. Cabin morning, Thomas. Crawford stood shirtless at the wash basin, sleeves rolled, scrubbing with lye. His ribs jutted like broken fence posts, but his hands moved with purpose. Behind him, the sound of a baby cooing lye, fed, warm, alive, across the room. Sarah McClain spooned oats into her son's mouth with practiced patience. Her eyes flicked. To Thomas now and then, not unkind, but still measuring. Trust, like winter's thaw, was slow in coming. Narrator Vo, in the wilderness. Time was no longer measured by clocks or calendars. It was measured in firewood stacks, emptied stew pots, and silent understandings. Thomas had stayed 6 days. 6 days of mending fences, hauling water, and splitting logs. He slept near the hearth, ate in silence, and kept to himself. Except for Eli, whom he held as if letting go might end the world, woodpile. Later Thomas swung the axe in rhythm, breath fogging in the cold. Sarah leaned in the doorway, arms crossed. Sarah, you swing that axe like a man used to war. Thomas, I was Gettysburg, Antietam, Sherman's March. I saw the end of more men than I care to count. Sarah, and now, Thomas quiet. Now, I count the days he's still breathing. She nodded, biting back her next question. She knew better than to ask about things buried deep. Chicken coop. Nightfall, the coop door hung open, swinging in the wind. Sighed feathers. Blood. No bird. Thomas inspected the snow outside. Tracks wrong shape, wrong depth. He called Sarah over. Thomas. Wolves didn't do this. Look, boot prints. 3 sets. Came in from the west tree line. Left fast. Sarah, bandits. Desperate men. Or dangerous ones. Sometimes. Both. Her jaw tightened. Her hand found the shotgun resting by the doorframe. Sarah. We'll need help, Thomas. There's no law out here. Nearest town's 2 days away. By then, we'll be picked clean. Sarah. Then we don't wait. Cabin that night, Sarah loaded buckshot calmly. Her child slept nearby. Thomas stood by the window, watching the tree line as night fell. Narrator VO. Danger wasn't loud. It came softly, wrapped in fog and silence, crawling on its belly like hunger itself. Tree line morning. A figure stood between the trees, still as stone. Watching Thomas saw him first tall. Lean, wrapped in deerskin, braids down his shoulders. Bow slung across his back. The man stepped forward slowly. Sarah tensely. Don't move. Thomas. Wait. The stranger raised his hands. Stranger. I saw the smoke, and I saw the tracks. You're being watched. Sarah, to Thomas. You know him? Thomas. No, but he knows what we're up against. Stranger. I am called Strong Bear. My people once hunted these lands before your cabins came. I do not mean you harm. Asterisk Sarah eyed him. She didn't lower the gun. Strong Bear to her. Your child sleeps with peace. That peace is in danger. Asterisk Thomas. Quietly, Asterisk let him speak. Int. Cabin later Strong Bear stood near the fire, unmoved by its warmth. He spoke in low, measured tones. Strong Bear. They are three, hungry, driven by old rage. One wears a silver badge once given by your kind, uses it still to take what he wants. Sarah frowning. A lawman. Strong Bear. Not anymore, just the shell of one. He'll come for food, for weapons, maybe for more. Thomas. We. Fight, Strong Bear. You prepare. You hide what you cannot defend. You defend what you must. Narrator VO. The lines between friend and stranger blurred in the wilderness. Sometimes, the man you feared at first light became the one who stood beside you at dusk. Montage days of preparation. Strong Bear teaching Thomas to set snare traps, Sarah boiling salt pork, eyes alert to every creak outside. Asterisk Eli and Sarah's baby cooing together in the cradle. Unaware of the war stirring outside. Asterisk. Thomas learning hand signals, shadow movement, listening to wind the way a hunter listens for breath in the grass. Int. Cabin night. Sarah poured tea into 3 cups. Thomas sipped his hands steadier now. Thomas, I owe you more than I can name. Sarah, you don't owe me. You owe him. That's what keeps you upright. Asterisk Strong Bear nodded silently. Agreement without words. Asterisk a log cracked in the fire. Sarah after a pause. I was born in a house like this one. 2 rooms. Father taught me to shoot before I could sew. Said it would matter more. Thomas, it did. Asterisk, she smiled faintly. For the first time, the air between them warmed for reasons beyond the hearth top. Prairie. Next morning, the air was sharper, quiet, the kind of silence that comes before something breaks. Asterisk Strong Bear knelt near the tree line. 3 boot, prints, fresh, clothes. Strong Bear. They come tonight, narrator VO. And so the trap was set. Not one of steel, but of resolve, of sharpened will. Of 3 souls, battered but unbroken, who had nothing to offer but everything they had left. Int. Cabin sunset. Thomas cleaned the rifle. Every click deliberate. Sarah tightened the shutters, baby asleep at her hip. Strong Bear carved a symbol into the doorframe. Ancient, protective, silent. Asterisk 3 people. Once strangers, now bound by one fragile thread, the desire to live one day longer. Narrator VO. In a world where mercy was rare and winter unforgiving, they chose to stand, not for glory, not for vengeance, but for the flicker of something that could still be saved. Asterisk the snow had stopped falling, as the wind had not. Asterisk stars hung like shattered. Glass above the prairie, inside the cabin, breath steamed in the air tents, measured. Every creak of timber was a warning. Int. Cabin moments later, Thomas Crawford checked the rifle one last time. The worn metal caught the light from the hearth. Beside him, Sarah McClain placed her baby in a hidden crawl space beneath a floorboard, cushioned in wool and prayer. Sarah whisper, if they find him, it's already too late. Thomas, they won't. Across the room, Strong Bear pressed his ear to the cold wood wall. Strong Bear low, asterisk 2 on foot. One with a horse. They circle wide. They test your fear. Thomas, let them. Cabin seconds later, boots crunched against ice. 3 silhouettes emerged from the tree-lined shadows made of hunger and violence. The lead man, Elias Griggs, wore a tarnished deputy badge. His face was a ruin of scars and old pride. He raised his voice. Griggs mocking. Asterisk evening, neighbors? Looking for some warm company and a little supper. Maybe we trade? Int. Cabin continuous. Sarah raised the shotgun. Thomas moved beside her, steady, calm. Sarah quiet. He's not here to trade, Thomas. No, he's here to take. Asterisk Strong Bear knocked twice on the floorboard. Signal. The moment was now. Ixt. Cabin front yard. Griggs stepped forward. Griggs. We ain't animals, but we'll eat like 'em, if need be. From the dark, a snap. A blur. Asterisk. One of the men fell screaming into a snare trap, leg mangled. Gunfire erupted. Int. Continuous asterisk. Thomas fired once. A clean shot. The second man dropped, rifle spinning from his grasp. Griggs dove for cover behind the horse, cursing. Sarah. He's circling the back. Thomas. I'll hold the front. Sarah. No. You go with Strong Bear. I'll stay. Thomas hesitated, but her eyes were iron. He nodded once, then vanished through the back door with Strong Bear. Asterisk. Ixed. Cabin back moments later. Asterisk. Snow swallowed their footsteps as they flanked around. Thomas kept low, heart pounding. He saw Griggs sliding along the wall, pistol raised. Strong Bear didn't wait. With a cry, he burst from the dark, striking Griggs with a tomahawk swing that missed but startled. Thomas took aim, then froze, Griggs snarling. You think you're better than me, soldier? You left bodies too. Thomas steady. I left ghosts, but I don't make more of them. Griggs collapsed into the snow. Silence returned to asterisk. In cabin, moments later, asterisk. Thomas burst through the door, face pale. Sarah stood by the fire, shotgun still warm. Baby slept, untouched by the violence outside. Narrator VO, there are victories no one sings about. Battles that end not. With cheers but with silence, breathless and sacred. EXT Homestead. Next morning, 3 graves, shallow, marked with stones. Not names. Asterisk. Thomas stared at them while holding Eli close. Strong Bear stood beside him, face unreadable. Sarah from porch. What now? Thomas. I move on south. Maybe find a town that needs a smith, or just a man who can still stand. Sarah, you're welcome to stay. Long pause. Thomas. Asterisk. I'd like to, but some debts can't be paid here. He turned to Strong Bear. Thomas. Asterisk. Thank you. Strong Bear gave a single nod. Strong Bear. Asterisk. Protect the child. That is the war now. Ixed. Prairie Day. Thomas walked away, Eli in his arms. The prairie stretched wide, cold, relentless, but no longer empty. Asterisk behind him. Cabin stood whole, alive. Narrator VO. In the quiet after violence, there is choice. To harden or to heal. To vanish or to begin again.